I first came across this story in a book entitled Pancakes and Painted Eggs by Jean Chapman, which I borrowed from the Ronge Public Library. It is said that after the death and resurrection of Jesus, one of his disciples, Joseph of Arimathea, traveled by sea and land to Glastonbury in England. "I will build a church here," he said, and he thrust his staff into the ground. His staff was a stick blackened and smooth with age, but miraculously it took root, and it grew into a thorn tree, the same kind that the Roman soldiers had made a crown of thorns for Jesus. A young pilgrim, whose name has long since been forgotten, set out to walk from his village to Glastonbury. And the village people said to him, "Bring us back a holy relic that we may be blessed." But when he returned with a single black thorn, they were disappointed. "What is this?" they said. "It's no longer than your thumbnail. Throw it away. You could have picked it up from any farmer's hedge." But the pilgrim replied, "This is no ordinary thorn. Our Lord wore a crown of such thorns." But alas, to the village people, it looked no different than any wayside thorn. "Throw it away," they said, and they went back to their work. But the young pilgrim did not throw the thorn away. He planted it at the end of the village, and he tended it, and it grew into a small tree. "Soon it will blossom with white flowers," he said. Now the village people were surprised that the tree had grown so quickly, but surely the pilgrim didn't know what he was talking about. Winter had arrived. There would be no blossoms in the severe cold, and no matter how closely you looked at the branches, well, there were no signs of swelling blood, some dark twigs. But the pilgrim insisted. "It will blossom at Christmas. If it blossoms at all, it will be at Eastertide, with the springtime." Christmas came and went, and the thorn tree remained bare. The year ended and the new year began, and still the tree was bare. Then came the 12th night, the last day of the Christmas holidays, and 12 days after Christmas, the village people went to sleep as they always did, without a single thought of the thorn tree. But at midnight, they were awoken by the pattering of feet. They jumped out of their beds. The men cried out, who could be moving their cattle in the middle of the night? The clattering on the cobblestones was like drum beats. They looked out the windows, and there they saw the sheep, the cattle, all the beasts that had been safely stowed at night. At sundown, were now milling about the streets, led by the great bull from the manor house. Well, the village people struggled into their clothes and their boots, and they rushed out into the street, and they followed the animals down to the end of the village, to the thorn tree. And then, as the church clock struck midnight, the great lumbering bull from the manor house sank to his knees before the thorn tree on the frosted ground. The sheep and the cattle knelt behind him. And then one by one, the villagers knelt down behind their animals in widening circles, ringing the thorn tree, now white with blossoms, glowing in the glistening moonlight. The pilgrim had indeed brought them a blessing from Glastonbury. And so from that time on, the tree was known as the Beasts Thorn, for it was the animals that first recognized that that tree was no ordinary wayside thorn. And so the village people told that story to their children and their grandchildren at Christmas and at Easter, and now you know it too.